Aloha, Ohana. Welcome back to the Pepper Chronicles with your favorite band, Pepper.
All right. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe everywhere you're streaming.
Also, go ahead, share this with everyone you know, especially the Pepper Ohana.
Send it.
This is your station under no control. Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Pepper Chronicles.
Smoke if you got them, baby, because that is what we're here to do right now.
Got him.
We're talking about the compilation Operation Irie today, and today we have Opie and Edwin from the mighty Long Beach Dub Allstars. Thank you guys so much for coming in, you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for everything throughout this whole experience and being part of the compilation. And you guys, Paul Leary put it best. Your guys' version of Pepper might be better than the original, as Paul Leary said.
We got to talk about that.
Also, too,
on its
before we
own,
dive
dude. It's
into your
crazy.
boys, let's really break it off.
Yeah.
Like, let's just be honest. Without you, there is no genre that is so huge right now. There is no Pepper. There is no Stupid.
Thank you.
There is no Stick. There is no Rev. There is no Iration. There is no any of this. Thank you guys for paving the way and giving us a way to see through the brush in order to find ourselves on this side of our careers. Because honestly, like, what you guys did in the 90s blew this whole thing open for us, and it gave us like the courage, the momentum to leave Hawaii and pack a 1976 Dodge Sportsman with a PA and a couple lamps and just to travel and try it out, because we loved it so much. And even though there wasn't a lot of bands doing it, it was enough to be able to end up here where we are. So we actually have these like safe places for people like in this genre, like Cali Roots or Cali Vibes and whatnot. Thank you right off the bat.
Really,
Absolutely. No, straight shepherds as far as, who knows if this reggae rock genre, whatever you want to call it, would even be here if it wasn't for you guys carrying that torch after Sublime. And I remember specifically when we moved over here in 99 and that one CD before Right Back came out that was like a little like sampler of
going back to a sampler.
and had
Operation Irie is.
Exactly. And it had a picture of you guys in the studio with Barrington, I think, on the cover.
Yeah, it's LB Long Beach Dub All-Stars and Friends.
Yeah. And
that's
that
what it
thing,
was.
and what did that have
Which we got from Josh Fischel.
Yes.
We got from Josh Fischel when we were on our first tour at Secret Hate and Bargain Music.
Totally. And that had like My Own Life on it. It had
Trailer Ras, I think.
Yep. Exactly.
And then it had like
all the features
live songs.
Which not so fucking good, by the way, or can't.
Well, Murderer with Barrington was on that too, right?
I think you have to thank
Uh-huh.
Sublime, obviously Brad and
I heard so
Eric
much of
and
Sublime in those
Bud
festivals.
and all the guys, Miguel, obviously, because all we were doing was like fulfilling that dream that Brad wanted to do, was just work directly with the artists, you know what I mean?
That's so cool.
And we were on tour with HR from the Bad Brains numerous times. Half Pint, Barrington. We met numerous other artists along the way, and got to share the stage with them and stuff like that. And that's all because, our love for reggae music,
Yeah. There's a question I've been wondering on that same tip is, like you said, kind of fulfilling Bradley's dream that he kind of helped you guys set up. How pinnacle was he, and how much did he bring in of those bands? Because I know Long Beach, you guys got a great music scene and punk rock, all kinds of things. But like, did he bring those direct influences? Was he kind of like bringing that straight from what he was hearing, or were you guys like all grew up together and that you shared the love for that?
It was obviously out there, you know what I mean? There was like bands that we thought were like, like Butthole Surfers, obviously, you hear it and you're just like, wow, these guys got it, or like Minutemen,
There's nothing like those,
And
Mike Watt.
we all shared those experiences of like, this band has it,
That's sick.
And so I think they were just trying to capture that,
But what was the vinyl collection? Was that didn't your mom or someone in your family had a pretty crazy reggae vinyl collection, right? That everyone was
I
tapping
collected
into?
vinyl from Culture Beat Records, which was down in Long Beach at two different locations. It was on 7th Street at one point over by Wanapero. And then, the original one was downtown, I believe. No, the original one was on 7th and Wanapero, and then they moved downtown to Alamitos. I met Coco T there. I met Daddy Freddie there. I met numerous people there, and it was all because you know, the owner, he had his, you know, he radar out Courtney.
Yeah.
I still talk to him. He's on Facebook. He's like a tour guide in Jamaica.
You ever meet Brigadier Jerry?
Never met him. I saw him live at Dominguez.
Damn.
Yeah.
What band was backing him?
I want to say
Detour Posse or something? Or
no. I want to say Sagittarius band.
Sick.
Yeah. Derek was playing bass, so I think it was Sagittarius.
So that music was coming in there one way or another, but you guys found it and celebrated the shit. I mean, that's so cool. I didn't know that, man.
Brad was so instrumental of taking, you know, the reggae and the punk and hip hop and the soul and putting it together, packaging it together in this thing that so many people 70% of these festivals are just influenced by immediately. You know,
I'd say like
maybe more.
Yeah, 90%,
maybe more.
And we're still
it's
finding
impressive.
it.
It's impressive. Yeah, there's a lot in that soup.
Yeah, exactly.
Well put. Well put.
A lot in that suit.
One other thing, have you heard? Because now that there's a thing, like he was giving you guys, we all give you guys credit for paving this foundation to give these other people who are inspired by the way you guys were by the OGs and us getting to be inspired by you guys. But can you say that, like, that the way that early or that Sublime and then especially the early Long Beach dub and all you guys just together, you can put a label on, but all this group over here, you guys, it hasn't been done anywhere near that since. And I'm really stoked on that. The way you just said, the way that Bradley put it together, that still to me is completely unique to Long Beach. You know what I mean? I know that a genre's expanded, but there's no way to blend it like that I have ever heard or
in the
appreciate.
soup, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know what it is or how, but there's magic there for sure.
It's almost like the like the whole that whole movement to me, like listening to it for the first time it was like being at like this incredible live DJ, not like just like it was a collection of like what a composer would hear and put it all together in that soup, or a chef in that soup, and then deliver the most delicious meal to you in the fact where you just sit down like, why is this so good? I want to know why.
Yeah.
What is this ingredient? What is this ingredient? What is this ingredient? And there was like this beautiful like trail back to where it was inspired from that we were being exposed to for the first time.
Yeah.
And effortlessly too, which is another weird thing. Is like, it's not like people weren't mixing genres before that, but never like that. And not in that sound, and with Bud and Eric too, and all that. But I mean, the way we viewed it as outsiders, as fans, and being kids too. Remember, this is fresh wax for us. Yeah, you know what I mean. We're listening to our stuff. We're very isolated in Hawaii, and we have, of course, we're completely saturated in the island version of reggae, which is great. We just grew up that way, contemporary Hawaiian. We didn't get a lot of exposure to punk rock until the surf movies and Taylor Steele stuff like that, which is kind of cool. But you know, for our generation, it was very, I look back at it now and it's so fucking high level what was happening.
Absolutely.
That it's not being touched yet. I'm really proud of that. I'm glad we were inspired by that. You can't put your finger on it, really.
And like you're saying, and like Opie was saying, both you guys were saying, there was something in the air, and there was, these genres were kind of being messed with already. But I remember being about 14 when Miguel gave me the I Don't Pay the Bills tape. Yeah. And I was already in bands, and I was, you know, bands are happening. I listened to that. And I was like, what? This is a local band?
Yeah.
What? This is incredible.
Yeah.
You know, just, what?
It's a universal feeling, man.
It's like even in its rawest form, the magic was so potent.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love that you guys are in the band and you still fucking feel that, because that's the best way. I've never talked to these guys about it. We just enjoyed the music, but when being able to look back after years with a little more wisdom is like, Jesus Christ, that was special.
It's almost more impressive the more time goes on, how, how
Exactly.
special it was and how influential it's been. And it's still.
And now you guys are carrying it forward again, and you decided to share a little with this killer compilation.
So through all the journeys and everything and the bands you've met, did you guys link up with the Butthole Surfers on any festivals or tours or anything besides, obviously there's the studio stuff, but
back on the early tour, we were playing in Texas, and Paul came out and we actually did Barbecue Pope live.
Sick.
That's awesome.
It was pretty epic.
I bet.
It was pretty insane. He was playing guitar and singing.
Yeah.
Wow. Sick.
There's like I know he has like these outtakes from when we recorded right next door,
Total Access.
where it was like, you know, like when everyone comes to hang out in the studio and there's like a couple other musicians or whatever. It was like the whole Dub All-Stars were jamming this weird fucking clanky jam. And he kept running in and like blowing this weird whistle.
So
God, that sounds like Larry.
And then
Yeah, it's so Larry.
and then turning around and running back in and like doing something at the board.
Yep.
And we're just like, it was like pure madness, you know, whatever the song was. But I would like
We have a similar
go back
percussion
and
story.
hear that.
Think of the look on his face,
This
because
is-
he's
this
dead
is
serious,
Paul,
right?
yeah.
He's dead fucking
Oh,
serious
this is
doing
Paul.
it.
Yeah.
Well, you guys must be like, the fuck?
Well, and just so everyone is clear, which
Yeah.
I'm sure you are, but Paul Leary is the original guitar player for the Butthole Surfers.
Please understand.
Who obviously went on to produce some brilliant records, Sublime Self-Titled, some Dub All-Stars, some Pepper, some Slightly Stupid. The list goes on and on. Pacifier.
One of the most influential bands. Like I said, it's resonating through some of our favorite bands as well too. And as a person, he's such a character. Have you ever met anybody like Paul? I know. He's been great. It's so authentic. It's incredible.
Paul is operating on such a high vibrational chart
Yeah.
that a lot of people won't get him.
Yeah.
But he's also too the sweetest person I think I've ever met this, like definitely the sweetest producer I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
There has never been a more, for me personally, a more encouraging producer ever.
Yeah.
Because you would do something and like, you know, as an artist, sometimes you're like in your head about it. And he'd be like, he would hit the talk back and be like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
That why you been hiding that?
Yeah.
Like this? Yeah, please come in here. You're done.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like we've never, like it was like way different, like with other producers in my experience. He like encouraged the vibe in the studio so much where he would uplift you to be so confident that you wanted to do another take versus him or any other producer like going, no, you're gonna have to do that again. No, you're like, no, give me one more. He's like, no, I'm sorry, I can't.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
He's seeing something different in music, which I think is so beautiful. And
He's just so like, which I think is like such a great compliment in my opinion, is he's so good at being himself. And in the studio, that equates to so much comfort and so much just realness and authenticity and everything. So yeah. So anyway, like we said, Paul Leary, absolute legend. And there's so many like, I guess like synchronicities to this whole fact of the Long Beach Dub All-Stars doing a Butthole Surfers song. Paul Leary, part of Butthole Surfers, that produced so many albums in the genre that affected the genre, and et cetera,
He
et
did a
cetera.
Spray Allen album.
Yeah, he did the Spray Allen album. Absolutely.
Okay, so what was it about the Butthole Surfers Pepper track that you wanted to go after and do?
I think they showed us a list.
And then
We were like, kind of like, we were honored. We were like, totally like, oh, we gotta, immediately I was like, we have to find a song.
Yeah.
And so
But that wasn't on the list.
that wasn't on the list. And then we were kind of like,
Throwing songs back.
me and him were throwing songs back and forth. And then that song came about.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, and I think I sent it to him and Miguel.
have you jammed it before? Have you
And
thought about
to
it?
me, I love the Butthole Surfers. I knew I wanted the connection there. And that song, the drums are basically like a hip hop beat.
Right. Yeah.
That we basically did not really change the drums much at all, other than Ian having a real drummer on there. And the rest I knew we could just noodle around with, and like kind of play with the rest and still
Flip
try
it
to
kinda.
honor it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was already set up for the perfect kind of hip hop reggae sublime kind of feel.
And then like
already.
Tim's horns on there too.
Oh my
like
God,
they
Tim,
fit.
yeah. Everybody brought their A game.
Oh
on
my
that
God.
one.
really did. Yeah, I was mentioning earlier actually in the control room to these guys, like when you listen to your, like, it's, first of all, this is not going to go well with everybody, but this is my favorite song on the
It's
my favorite.
I don't think you're the only one, buddy.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's
Also,
amazing.
too, like the guitar work, being a guitarist, the guitar work on your version, it's stunning. And why I bring this up is because Paul Leary is the guitar player for the Butthole Surfers. So if you did not execute this correctly, it would
fucked up the main
cause it would cause a smirk on Paul's face.
You'd fuck up the Rembrandt pussy horse.
Thank you. That's really what it is, right? Fairway to Steven. Yeah, that's right. And so the guitar work, the way that, like, you throw back to the backwards guitar on it, And the way the distortion and the guitar drip into the next part of the arrangement is what I found like super like
Miguel.
That was Miguel. That was
and
all
his
Miguel.
assignments.
And we
Nasty
had
man.
kind of made some
Incredible.
demos back and forth between me and Opie and Miguel and Roger. But Miguel, what he did that day was like, what are you gonna do? He was a whole new approach that I didn't expect, and everything he did was just killing it.
Yeah.
And that acoustic guitar that he put
Yeah.
around too. Oh man, yeah, and the guitar work was great. He's a bitchin' guitarist, man.
The man is
and the
diabolical.
production on this track too is phenomenal. It
Yeah.
sounds so good. And I don't know about you guys, but one of the tests that I do nowadays, especially in a digital world of recording, is I turn up the volume like almost as loud as my speaker system can go. And I can tell if it's a great recording, the speakers won't distort, right? Like that's not really the case most of the time.
Right.
So like on an album like Catch a Fire, and if you haven't done this, try it. Like turn up that album as much as you possibly can. Nothing ever distorts.
Yeah.
Like, no matter, it is beautiful.
killer.
And I did that to this song and that holds its integrity all the
Yeah.
way through. So that's just, I really enjoy like when things are really recorded correctly like this.
Yeah, and done right here at Conatown.
Yeah,
Say
I know,
you got to
which-
try this place, Conatown Recording.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no, it was a pleasure working here.
Nice.
Doing that here. It was easy.
Oh, and we're so honored that you guys came in and used the space
I think
for
we
the.
came back in and
We
we
did?
recorded a couple
Yeah.
other songs.
Yeah.
Well, I hope
it's an
you
honor.
guys do because
Glad you're here.
another thing too, even in the cover, I have to say is just on a side on a being a Long Beach fan, like that was one of the coolest sounds and the most. It sounded so like you guys. I think a lot of people when they cover a song, they try to. How am I gonna change it? How am I? You know what I'm saying? The normal. How do I make this interesting? And then you're so close to it because you love that song, you love that band.
Yeah.
How do you do it? But to me, I'm like, this is one of my favorite tracks you guys have ever done. Besides the fact that it's a Butthole Surfers track, and I think that's so fucking cool, man. And the fact you recorded it in a fresh kind of space too is even cooler. It's an absolute grand slam.
Miguel had a crazy note. He said that when Paul played him that track, when he first heard it, it had Paul Revere drums.
Oh, like
Yeah,
Beastie
the
Boys?
sample,
Yeah.
right? Wow.
And then so I asked,
Oh, yeah, I could totally hear.
obviously
yeah,
I asked
yeah,
Paul,
that makes
I go,
so much sense.
I go, where's the one with Paul Revere drums? And he was like, oh, I don't know. One of the kids did that.
One of the kids.
One of my interns did that. And I
One
was
of
like,
my interns.
oh, I want to hear that one.
Yeah, no shit.
Be a lot cooler if you
No,
did.
is Pepper? Was that a song that the Butthole Surfers would play live, or was it kind of
I
like
think so.
Ween had like Push Little Daisies that they would never play live.
Like the '90s bands, like that's not cool
I've seen
to play
like
your
live versions
big
of it
shit.
on YouTube.
Okay, so
I don't know. Maybe they didn't do it a lot, or I don't know.
When we would go see him, I don't
You remember seeing
that.
it?
I don't remember that being like why we went to go see him, but
right,
You're making that up.
yeah. I wonder if they would play it live.
I was more worried about the strobe lights.
Yeah.
God.
Same.
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 How was the show? Well, I'm
dangerous.
not alive.
I mean, it was great. But you're just like,
I know.
That's right.
I'm gonna go get another beer.
You forget about them. They're so dynamic musically, but they're also remember
Visually,
Paul just being like, dude, it has to be.
Psychedelic.
You have to
thinking.
almost die,
Visually,
and then
you're
we're
fucked.
there.
Yeah.
That's
Visually, you're fucked.
Visually, you're
I mean, let's put that in like the notes for this podcast.
Yeah,
visually, you're
Visually.
Yeah,
they wish everyone luck at the top of the show.
Yeah.
Good luck out there, guys.
Some people loved it, but like, yeah, if you're just like the first timer, you're just like, holy, what the fuck?
Yeah.
dude. Absolutely.
I love talking to Paul too because back in the day they toured with the Chili Peppers a lot, right?
Mm.
And so he would always say like, "Oh yeah, I remember back in the days where the Chili Peppers were envious of our band."
Oh, I remember that.
Dude, it speaks of the commodities of a real touring band back in the day. Like we
Exactly.
had
Cutting
a band
teeth.
that kicked ass.
And then remember, like in the older videos too, I honestly found out from the Butthole Surfers from Beavis and Butthead. because we didn't have music shops
Mm-hmm.
in Kona
funny.
at
Yeah.
the time, right? I mean, we barely got MTV in the night.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Let's just be honest.
And the CD stores we had were like top 40.
Yeah,
That's
we're
all.
not gonna have
You
any
had,
of
you had
that.
top 40.
Yeah.
You had your reggae section.
Yeah.
And then you had your traditional Hawaiian.
Yep.
And then your
Contemporary
contemporary Hawaiian.
And the reggae section was very top level, like
Well,
Bob Marley.
you're gonna find
Gregory-
Yellow Man, Gregory Isaacs,
Yeah.
Bob, you
Yeah.
know,
No half-
Jimmy Cliff,
no
of
half
course.
pint or any of the like.
No.
deep
You
Nothing
got
with
a
real
Oahu.
depth or danger
Yeah,
in it, a
exactly.
real gritty like Jamaican vibe too.
But I remember seeing their video on Beavis and Butthead when Beavis and Butthead used to comment on videos,
yeah,
which was my favorite part about that show. And it would be like, who the hell was in my bed last night?
yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Da-na-na-na-na. And then Beavis would come on, like be watching the Butthole Surfers, but then Flea would be the bartender. And
Oh,
then,
shit.
And then Beavis like, free. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, and like you watch, it's like, wait, I knew the Chili Peppers
Yeah.
at that time growing up.
Yeah.
But so what is this and why?
Yeah.
And so that was
Yeah.
another, you know, that was like one of those homages where like, you know, certain bands continue to bring other bands to the forefront.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
like
I-
vouch for them in a
yeah,
sense.
yeah. And then whatever like the wave of success one band has, you bring that other band
Right.
in. Perfect example, Sublime and the Ziggins. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
yeah,
That's
Sublime
pretty cool.
got super huge, and then like they would mention the Ziggins. Brick Suzanka
Yep.
made me
Greatest,
drink.
Yeah.
greatest hits.
Yeah,
And
greatest
then,
hits.
and then even like beyond that, it's like the trust that we would have to these labels like Skunk Records
Right.
or
Yes.
Epitaph or any of the reason we
provide
ended up
good music.
Yes,
Yeah.
where you trusted them. You're like, oh, who's this band on Skunk Records? I've
They
never
have
heard
to
of.
be good if they're on.
It doesn't
Epitaph. They
matter
have to be
because
good, right?
yes, it doesn't matter because I trust this label, which is huge.
I remember that logo being so like synonymous with I know I'm gonna fucking dig this.
Which one, Skunk?
Skunk?
Yeah.
I remember that. No, I remember that.
Oh yeah,
feeling.
like the samplers again.
because you were gonna hear this music.
Yeah.
Yep.
You were gonna hear Sublime. You're gonna
logo,
hear your
great
stupid
music.
like. Dude, that
Good
the
roster.
think about
Yeah.
that really mattered. Dude, you used to put it out on the line. It wasn't no go backs. No, you trusted in those bands. You believed in
and
those
that
bands.
led to bargain music.
Dude, I'm-
that led to like all the whole. I mean, because I was not just, I guess, not just Skunk too, but the whole like outer laying geography of Skunk Records too. Because like
Z-Man.
77
Sorry,
Records was the bargain
70
music
right,
record.
there
I
was
think.
yeah, exactly. Jesus wore Dickies things, and
Yep,
like
yep.
it kind of
Yeah.
led to the next thing. Who else? Like Secret Hate. Don't fucking forget. Secret
Oh
Hate.
God, are you kidding?
Well, here, brother, that's exactly what I was going to say.
That's-
So,
yeah.
so we were lucky enough to go on tour with Bargain Music and Secret Hate.
Yeah, yeah.
And just learn, like, just listening to Mike tell, like,
Secret
stories.
Mike?
And, like, yeah,
Secret
yeah.
Mike.
It was just like, oh, man, there's so much we don't know about
Yeah.
what we've just done. We've just left paradise
Yeah.
to come here and try this impossible mission.
Yeah.
You know?
Great.
And like, Mike's like,
Hello.
you did what?
Yeah.
You know,
Such a dope.
he's like, he's like, you did wait. You guys got family and houses.
Yeah,
you had
yeah,
waiting jobs in Hawaii that you were getting paid like $300 a night, and you did what?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he was
I saw the gentlemen confused. I saw them confused. And it was like
76 Dodge Sportsman.
I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Tell me what Kona has anything to do with Long Beach, but it ended up being peanut butter and jelly for at least for in our regard for coming up under that to be like, including Stupid Dude. They're not from Long Beach, but the fact that they're connected, that all those bands had a real like, I guess a pool. That's the only way we kept going. It's such a different perspective and so beautiful. Like, I was gonna ask you guys this. We talked
Scene.
the reggae is so like noted, obviously in the genre that's created, but like punk rock guys like Secret Hate and what else? What else called you guys? What else makes that part of the Long Beach sound? You know?
Ooh, that's our roots, basically. A lot of my roots, growing up, going to shows, and a lot of my friends. I mean, me and Eric, like when I met Eric Wilson, he said he had a punk rock band, and I didn't believe his fucking ass. I was looking at we were in the back of science class, and he's like, I have a band.
Did he have that fro?
I was
that,
like drawing,
fro?
and he said he had a band, and I was like, what? And he like, I don't know if he pulled out a flyer or a tape or something.
Proof.
Yeah, like,
at my
and then
flyer,
he said that they were playing, open up for like Social Distortion or some shit,
What?
and that was like pretty big back when we were young.
Yeah.
And I didn't
How old
even-
were you then? In
Well,
high
we
school,
were in
maybe?
8th grade,
Oh shit!
science
Yeah, that's
class.
middle school,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
so
Crazy.
I didn't fucking believe him. And then
Love that. That's
I saw him later on, and then
Oh my
he told me about it. and they like wouldn't let him in until he played, and then they kicked him out,
Oh, shit.
I think. And
Because he's underage.
yeah,
Right. This is the Wayne.
I think it was 15.
Good old days.
Yeah. This is Wayne Lothian.
And I still kind of didn't believe it.
They'd let him in to play, and then
and
pick him
then
up. Yeah.
later on, he
Seen
was
that.
like, "Oh, come to, we're practicing over here at this whatever little studio.
Yeah.
Come and check out, my band." And that's when we started hanging out, and that was like before I met Brad. He had like some band called fucking I don't even remember, Belmont Shore Drinking Shit or something.
Nice.
What was the Eric Wilson band? Who was in that? And like,
That was like a punk band that he had.
Yeah.
do you remember the name?
You could barely keep it.
The punk band was called Contraband.
Sick.
Yeah. Contraband.
So
And he played guitar, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
sick.
It's like that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
but
Aaron
this
just
is
plays
how
everything.
fucking
Yeah,
cool
he
is
does.
this? How cool
this
is
is
this?
epic.
Here,
Yeah.
foundationally, this is what's going on.
And then we
This is
we
so
expressed our like love for music, like,
Mhm.
and then
Were you singing or doing anything with
no,
bands yet?
I was
Nothing
just like
musically?
I was just into punk rock and
Yeah.
like into ska, into like, and then like later on got into like a lot into like reggae and dance hall
Yeah.
shit, and hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
But me and him always like, oh, here's a fucking tape. Oh, here's a joint. Here's
Yeah.
like he gave me a tape. What was it? Jimi Hendrix live,
Mhm.
Band of Gypsies.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Is that when Billy Cox was on drums?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
I love that
the
one.
Dream Team band, and I heard that, and I was just like, whoa, this is
Buddy Miles.
that
Yep.
blew me away.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Like that was like when we were young.
Oh, Buddy Miles. Right. Right.
And then
Yeah,
he gave me
Cox on bass.
Motley
Bass,
Crue's
yeah.
first album.
Yeah, badass too.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
he's
Which
got
one
that voice.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Motley
Buddy
Crue.
Miles sings
Oh,
so
yeah.
What was the
giving
first
you all
album?
the
Best way to
Too
your
Fast for
skull.
Love.
Fast
Yeah.
for Love.
Yeah.
That was great.
Oh, are you kidding me? And that
I was
cover
like,
with all
yeah.
the leather
I
and
thought that
stuff.
was
They were
great.
just like studded everywhere.
I didn't even think about it like later on. I like, because they were cool and then they suck,
Yeah. Well,
Back then they were really good.
top of the top.
those
right?
first two albums, Too Fast for Love and Shout at the Devil,
Yeah.
like they were so monumental for just metal in general.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And especially that like theatric kind of like metal, but the songs were so good like at that point.
Would you say they were probably the most punk rock of that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it was about
Yeah.
the
blown out of
yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Especially the
They
first
had the
record.
fucking grit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Good word.
That
No,
early
there was
grit,
like
sure.
there was like gnarly dudes in in the neighborhood or at parties we would go to, and they were rocking.
They'd have the vest.
They were
Yeah.
rocking that shit,
Yeah.
and we would just be like, "What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
is he wearing?
Yeah,
were
fucking
hard,
high
like
heels and
those
shit,
different-
like high heel boots
racers.
and
I don't
shit.
know what the fuck they
Yeah.
are."
But you're right. That album gave you those feels.
Yeah.
Too, for
A
sure.
razor blazer.
And so Edwin,
So
where
that was
were
like
you?
that was like the music we were like exchanging and listening to, like other than punk rock,
Yeah.
like all kinds of just wild shit.
Yeah.
Right. And Edwin, you said earlier that Opie gave you a tape.
Oh, that
back
was
in-
Miguel.
or
That
Mel
was
Miguel.
Miguel.
Okay.
Like,
So was
I-
that during this time that Opie's talking about?
I think I
or?
said I was 14. I was probably more like 16 or something. Yeah, probably around that time, late
Okay.
80s.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, I listened to punk rock. I was just through skating and surfing and growing up in that. And
Bad
you just hear
Brains.
a lot. Yeah, Bad Brains,
Minor threat.
Minor Threat, Doggy Style. Another band. I had a tape. I had the older guy around the corner that made me tapes. Thank goodness, Cody. Thank you, Cody.
Shout out Cody
Cody.
for the
Yeah.
mixtapes.
Those
Hell
guys-
yeah.
Those guys are pinnacle.
And yeah, absolutely. And and then I started listening to reggae and all this, and I started getting into bands. I was in a band called Suburban Rhythm in the early 90s, and we would play parties and stuff, and that's how we started playing with Sublime, and that's how I kind of got into knowing more of the guys and everything. And anyways, yeah, that tape was given to me by Miguel.
Okay.
And I met him also as a teenager, probably before anybody, because when he moved here from Florida, I was already friends with his cousins, so he's always at their house, and that's kind of how I met Miguel. He had dreadlocks.
No
It's awesome.
That's
This is
amazing.
so crazy.
And
this is so
were all these relationships kind of based in music?
Absolutely.
lack
I think
of- okay.
music and art and skating
Yeah,
and all
sick.
that. Just
Sick.
that Southern California
Yeah.
stuff,
Right.
Yeah,
That's so,
absolutely.
Oh yeah, just like so influential to so many people, like not just in the States, but like like globally.
Totally.
Yeah,
You know what
it's
I mean?
crazy
Yeah.
how it's spread out.
This is kind of random too, but how did the like success and popularity of Snoop Dogg affect everything? And
Oh, good question.
Like,
What? Take it easy.
Oh, man.
Bronchitis.
They ask you when we would be on tour, excuse me, they would ask us the name of our band, and we'd usually let Scummy, rest in peace, say something crazy, and he would usually say Slayer or some shit. They would leave us alone after that, right? They'd look at Ras and be like, "That's not Slayer."
Yeah.
But
Kind of, but
they would when on the early tour we had Danger with us, and they would be like, "What's your name of your band?" And we'd say Long Beach, and then all they would say was like, "Do you know Snoop?"
oh shit. It's built into the name. Though.
Yeah, like, "Do you know Snoop?" And you're like, "No, we don't.
No.
Sorry."
yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
We
sorry.
apologize for not knowing Snoop.
Sorry. Should we still do the show? Or
I used to live on 20th Street, right by 21st.
yeah. I'll tell you what. On the flip side of that, from the outside, of course, the Snoop and everything. But now, when you say Long, at least in all the circles that you go around, like. First thing that comes to mind is the Long Beach. You think of the whole story of Sublime too, but it's Long Beach is like you guys have such a rad, special culture, and you guys have honored that. And that's why I was wondering about what punk bands. You said you have real reggae like artists that are like showing up to these crazy vintage record stores, and how did it go when you guys started I don't know, before, after, whatever happened with Sublime and the merge and the kind of the rise up when it became more national? How did the local bands kind of treat you guys and celebrate you, or did they not? Did they get behind you, or
But I don't know. It seemed like a whirlwind to me because I was real nervous about the whole performing thing. I was new to it,
okay?
and I didn't want to fill like in any way Brad's shoes or anything like
yeah,
that. I was like trying to find my own who I was, and that never really happened. I was just kind of like wasted like most of those years. Whatever I put out, I like invested a little bit into it, like DJs or my live performance. I tried to get better at it. But it was just my love for reggae, just my love for like good songs and good good vibrations and stuff like that, which kept me just trudging through to try to later on I was like, man, I have to write some good songs. I want to write some good shit.
That's great you committed it, because it came fucking through in the music, even though you're probably one of the last to kind of jump into being a musical or expressing your musical creativity and shit,
I
right?
would get to this point where I was like, I could write like a chorus and like a first couple of verses, but I could never really finish a song. And in my family, we have this thing where it's like, shout out to Buddha, like we're like, I say when my kids are doing something or someone's, in the middle of like a large project, I say Siddhartha, and that means like, finish the job, and good, in good, context too, like
See it through.
So,
see it
like,
through.
see it
Yeah.
all the way.
Finish it.
Right.
That's
And
really
then,
important.
I could never do it with songs. And it was like, kind of like, I kind of gave up.
Wow.
And then I had like this long vacation, and during that vacation, I came to a realization of just giving into it and just kind of like
Nice.
doing like the Aussie almost, where I know other artists do it too, where you just kind of like,
Yeah.
and then later on you listen back or find a word in there, build on that.
Yeah.
Or how you did it, even though in the nonsense there's an energy that you're vibing with.
Maybe like had a different thought process at that time in my life too, where I was like, had a lot more to say, I guess,
Yeah.
So you worked it out to where it's just like, okay, well, I'm having a hard time finishing this project. Now, this is also too, like, psychologically, it's upsetting for an artist to like work up a song, get it to a certain place, and then you can't get it to that part. And now this becomes momentum, right? Because the next project. So actually being aware, number one, it's the most important thing, being aware of what's happening. Awesome. And then also shifting it to like, okay, well, how do I write versus how am I thinking I should? And so maybe I'll just get in there. I'll just scat. Let me go listen to anything I said. Hey, I really like that line. Hey, this line makes no sense. I like it anyway. It's staying in the song. I don't care about the story. Like it's like because art is so open and it's so like massively beautiful, to receive any part of it and to put it into like a collective space for you to share it, that's the most important. And also like the momentum, like just sometimes the momentum, it's not a negative or a positive, it's just letting the momentum happen will help you to get over that finish line enough. And if that happens, then you're ready for the next project, and then the next project, and then the next project, and you can actually move it through. And then this becomes consistency, and this becomes the work. And then you're having a lot more fun.
Absolutely.
Then get into a certain place of like, well, I'm usually here, and this is where I usually stop.
Yeah.
I'm so happy you got to find that fun, because that's
Yeah.
a very rare instance the way you came into it, man. Because I mean,
It was weird. It was like I didn't know I do this thing where I hyper fixate on things.
Sure.
And then someone was like, "Shh, whoa." That's my wife, and and I was just like, wow, I never looked at it like that. And I was like, well, that's how I get things done. Like I can do like a couple projects at the same time, but like you're gonna get the best result if you let me just concentrate on one.
So, but even with that problem during that time, what a fucking band of banditos you had backing you up.
Yeah.
I mean,
Obviously.
what the fuck? How
So
does that
much
feel?
talent on one
Because-
stage at any time.
Yeah,
I
'cause-
believe that when we moved here in May 12th, 1999, did you guys do Warped Tour 99?
I feel like they
I
did
think
do
so.
something early
2000. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, it was before we went on Warped Tour.
With Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah, I believe so.
Because we went to the Anaheim one, I think.
Oh, they
No,
were
no,
on.
we
They
went
were
to
just on
Coors
one
Amphitheater.
show.
Yes.
They were just on one show.
Okay.
with
Oh,
no
Coors
doubt.
Amphitheater.
Was it Coors Amphitheater?
San Diego,
so.
Chula
Yeah.
Vista.
Yes.
And
Good call.
and we were there, and I was watching this like musical like sound like come out. And also, I've been walking around not hearing this quality of like musicianship.
Yeah.
This is Warped Tour, come on.
Yeah.
And so like being exposed to that, also being just huge fans, I'm just like watching this going, wow.
Yeah, that must have been.
Yeah.
And then also like understanding where we were at musically.
Yeah.
In our infant years of just
Yeah.
like,
Fuck, I do remember that feeling, dog.
If we're,
Yeah.
if we're going to be a real band, we
I
need
do.
Eddie Van Halen on guitar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we were wild science in that point.
Yeah.
And I like watching this was just like,
Isn't it crazy to know all that was going on and brewing underneath the same time? But that was going to be my next part of the question is, but then of course Brad passes, but you still have your brothers in arms and Eric and Bud, and like, what a interesting. The more I think about it right now in this moment, I'm like bringing in the friends who are all celebrating and keeping the banner going, but you're also with the other original writers too, and. How much do you step in? How did they feel? Were they still mourning? Were they not? All that. And you're trying to come up musically too with that. You know what I mean?
I
That's
think
a tricky.
Miguel, like Miguel, like the
Miguel too.
Miguel, Bud, and Eric were like the warriors, and it was like I've talked about this before, and it was like gnarly therapy, like boot camp therapy.
yeah,
Interesting.
absolutely.
Like, get your shit, let's go. We're going to fucking Europe, let's go. We're doing this thing.
Had
And
you guys.
and I wasn't really like all happy about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had just started tattooing like full time at a shop, and my wife was just like, "Wait a minute, what?
You're going where? For how long?
Like,
Dude, this is so
It's like,
wild.
wait, you're like a rock star now?
Yeah.
it was like a joke, and I was like, "Oh no, it's just a couple shows,
Yeah.
And then it turned into like, "Oh, we got signed,"
Yep.
and then we're going on tour, and then I missed a lot of things, and I didn't have time to grow at that time, and I don't think in my mind, and I wasn't like
It's hard to think of.
like now.
man.
I think the albums would be totally different, obviously, but
Right.
Yeah.
what are you gonna do?
But back to that gratitude, I think that like you started talking about at the beginning of this episode and stuff. The thing about the Dub Allstars, which was so amazing too, is like through our love of finding out about Jamaican culture and Jamaican music, it's like Long Beach Dub Allstars had this like side where it was almost like a sound system a bit too, where you never knew if Barrington was going to be there, you never knew if Half Pint was going to be there.
Yeah.
All these epic DJs that you're like, oh my god, what are we going to get today? So it was always like this. Every show you guys played was like this epic present that you would open up every time. And what am I going to get? What am I going to get? And like that just was just shots of inspiration to us, like left and right. So
Well, let's be
respect
honest.
and
Let's be
gratitude.
honest too, because music is it's like, it's a cycle, right? And now in 90, let's see, when did the Dub Allstars come into play? like 97, 8.
96.
Yeah.
Like dropping
Okay,
a record
yeah,
was
okay.
two.
So here we have like it's all moving, right? And now we get to California 99, and the genre isn't like at full mass anymore. It's going into different realms of like Limp Bizkit, like the, like like it's a unique kind of like trippy situation. Like when we actually got here from Kona, not many people were like I'll put it this way. People here, I'm gonna be real honest. Like people are like, oh great,
Yeah.
a Sublime ripoff. Yeah. And so us and Stupid, we're like slightly Stupid and us are just
all
like
day, every day.
Yeah.
every day. And like it's like
Literally.
oh god, this was so 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Why are we even here again?
Yeah.
So, but it affected us so much. What happened was it affected us so much, the music, that none of that mattered. We stood the course because we just liked it.
Yeah.
We liked what we were doing, and we didn't care if anyone else did. We found another band, Slightly Stupid, and then another band, Bargain Music. And with those two other acts, we just took off in our vans and played Lincoln, Nebraska at a record store for 45 people or something like that. Right?
Skate demo. No
Skate
people.
demos or
No
whatever
skaters.
we could, whatever we could. And we just did it because we just loved it so much that there was no way that we were going to let this disappear. And I was like, Yellow Card, no. It's like All American Rejects. No, all of these bands are just pounding right now in success.
Yeah.
They're just so popular at this moment. And we're just like, what happened?
We arrived so late.
Yeah.
We arrived so late.
Also, too, because I think that, Brad departed so quickly.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of like hit this thing and then disappeared. The only people carrying that flag was Long Beach Allstars, which gave us enough courage to continue what we were going to do.
Yes.
And the sound was maintained, but it was completely different too.
Yeah.
And I felt like you guys, maybe what got you through, even though it's so, like, to hear about how turbulent is bananas to me. It's crazy.
But the therapy was good to
the
hear.
therapy happening, but if you guys hadn't done that, I mean, I think honestly, so that one of the pillars would have gone out. Another pillar would have gone out. And I think all the music now would have, I think all the people that love that music that were afraid to latch on as desperately as we did, it might have ended up a lot different.
Yeah.
Maybe it still would have been reggae or punk or something, but I think it would have been completely different had you guys not absolutely kept smashing through, man. I really think so.
And then here we are, 2026, right? And we have Operation Irie, this compilation, which blows me away. You guys come in, you drop my favorite track
Fucking
on
crown
the whole
jewel.
compilation.
Crown jewel.
And my favorite thing is like, we have been a part of this compilation, but more importantly, I think the bottom line of this podcast is straight gratitude of where you guys have been and how you have helped everything about this genre to be where it is right now. And
More than you know.
like honestly, like that gratitude that we have is I think it's just overfilling us so much that's all we can actually talk to you about right now.
Yeah. No, totally.
Yeah.
We're celebrating the song.
I do have a question though. I know you guys are going out with Bedouin Sound Clash on a tour coming up here, or it might be happening really soon, if not now.
12th, I think.
February
Oh, wow,
12th. it
okay.
says.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to be playing Pepper live during the run with the
Probably.
Bedouin Boys?
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
On some shows, we'll probably be playing it, depending on how much microdosing is.
Nice.
It's a lot of
if
lyrics.
that's gonna
It's a lot of
happen,
lyrics.
We're gonna sneak
Or
Paul
macro.
Leary.
Yeah.
into
Yeah,
feature.
or
Yeah,
macro.
we're gonna have to sneak his ass over.
We
just-
did it once. We did it up north a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Sick.
It was fun. So it's in motion.
Yeah,
Oh,
nice.
I
Well,
love
it's
that.
in motion.
Well, we just did Linoleum for the first time
Okay.
down at Closer to the Sun, and
okay.
yeah,
Okay,
same
wow.
thing. We were like sick.
Awesome.
That we
Yep.
did it. We did it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We were like, we can play it live.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
No better
Let's
place
go.
to do it.
In total
Yeah.
Pepper fashion though.
Yeah.
Really loose.
Yeah. Well, I
didn't say we learned it. I said we did it.
well, because there's those
Same
songs you guys record on, or
Situation.
any band records on an album that never see the light of day of stage,
yeah.
which is always like you want every song you make to see the stage
Yeah,
at
yeah,
some
exactly,
point. So
right.
it's like, it's so gratifying when you get up there and you play it and you're like, yes, we pulled it off. It can happen. We got that one in
We're gonna be
the
looking for that one
in the
when we
back
get to the
pocket or
road.
whatever.
Okay.
So,
That's so dope,
right.
man.
and what about for new music? What are you guys working on? Anything?
Yeah,
You
we
guys-
got
Absolutely.
we've got like I don't know how many We're on the chopping board right now.
Yeah, well,
that's how it is.
we've got 3 that are down, and we have 5 up to bat, and we got a date at the end of this month. We're gonna try and lay those 5 down.
Fuck yeah.
And then we got maybe 5 or so more that are 60%ish on their
great.
way.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's really flowing.
So
fast
yeah,
music,
the rhythm's starting to go now, and everybody.
Yeah.
last
this
night
is
we had a
good.
session last night, and it was a pleasure, man. Everybody's working really well together,
That's
and
killer.
I'm excited. about
Yeah.
this stuff.
That's really, next chapter
Well,
coming, dude.
All I know is this world and this genre would not be the same without the Long Beach Dub All-Stars. So
Absolutely.
we're so happy to have you guys chugging along at full steam, and so honored that you guys jumped on the Operation Irie compilation.
Yeah, man.
Smash.
Thank
Like
you for
Klaus
having
said,
me.
all we can talk about is how grateful we are.
And then
So
also
it's
just
like-
taking time for the podcast, man.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to see where you guys are headed next, because it's going to set up a lot of people down the line too.
1,000%.
It's my favorite music kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like you find the music and you take it somewhere else,
Yeah.
and then they take it somewhere else. And that's how powerful the music is.
Yeah.
And just to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
to be a comma in the sentence.
And thanks for sharing with how I think everybody's gonna be so interested on all those little stories on how it got there,
Yeah.
how each little root grew to do. I mean, that is, as a fan and a friend.
Here, last little bonus story, just
There you go.
because I just love this so much.
Oh,
And
here we go.
Oh, yeah.
so thankful to have yours. But Opie, how did we go from the Sublime sperm and egg 40-ounce to freedom drawing to being in Long Beach Dub All-Stars? Like, was that just the natural evolution of like, oh, you're an artist, can you do this cover for us? And then
Actually, like me and Brad would like freestyle a lot, you know.
Okay.
When they would play parties or whatever, sometimes I would jump on the mic. And so when he passed, I can't really recall, but I think I was staying with Ras, and Eric and Ras met, and they were just kind of like,
oh, so they didn't know each other from back in the day, Ross and Eric.
no, they had met like briefly.
Similar scenes.
They had met like I think one show, but you know, it's just like, oh yeah, it's a dude from the other band.
Passing by, kind of.
They were called Jaw Children. But anyways,
Sick.
they had met, and I like turned around and they were like hanging out. And that was like right after Brad had passed. And then Eric was like, hey, we're gonna come and jam. And I was like all stoked. And then I was like, it kind of like turned really like I was got stressed out because I was like, oh shit, they're serious.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
It's like-
yeah.
It's really happening.
This is real.
Like
You
I was
just saw everything.
and I was like, you know, like what? And then we did it, and we had enthusiasm, but then realized like it's, you know, it's grieving, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
it's heavy, you know.
Well, it honored everything and paved the way.
But then like everyone's there, and you're just kind of like you become part of the machine. You know?
Yeah. No, a cog in the machine for
Yeah.
sure. And then Edwin, when did you become a cog in the machine, if you will?
I got cogged about 2016
Nice.
when they came back, and Eric was busy doing stuff, and so they needed a bass player.
Oh, because he was still doing the Sublime with Rome
Yeah.
stuff at that point.
Yeah, and I was, or he was just getting into that, I think, at that point.
Okay.
And I'd already been working with Mike and kind of helping him with doing little odd bits on skunk recordings here and there, and I'd helped Jack out with some stuff. I was just kind of in the mix, you know. And actually, yes, and so yeah, 2016
Nice.
is when I got in, and they can't get rid of me.
Nice. So you're just like
Fogged up.
went from being a went from being a little went from being a Swiss Army knife
Yeah,
to just that squeaky wheel that just got cogged up.
yeah, I got cogged up. You know,
Love
it
it.
happens to people. They get
Yeah.
cogged up. Yeah.
Again, you guys, thank you so much for being
Yeah,
a part of Operation Ivy and
Yep.
everything that you've done for us.
Long Beach
Yeah.
Dubs All-Stars forever.
Long Beach Dub All-Stars, Cornhole Surfers Pepper, Operation Irie. Aloha.
Pepper.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
Thanks, you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Aloha, Ohana. We want to thank you for catching another episode of the Pepper Chronicles. Hoorah!
Make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and commenting wherever you're enjoying from.
And if you're enjoying this podcast, please share it everywhere to everyone you know. Alohas.
Hoorah!